Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. This is the first hot topic of this super hot year, and we are not really enjoying hot weather, but that's okay. So thanks for being with us today. We are the Redesign team. I'm Tammy Mitchell, my colleague Jay Scott, and my colleague Sarah Perryman. We're here to serve you, help you, support you, encourage you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We have a pretty full agenda for our hot topic today, but here's our quick agenda. I'm going to talk about our redesign team's New Year's resolutions. I'm going to talk about the Redesign Success Rubric. We're going to talk about keeping score, and we have a library of sample scoreboards from right here in Kansas. And we have an inventory reminder that we want to share with you. And we encourage you to listen all the way to the end of this hot topic, because at the end, my colleague Jay Scott is going to give you a little clue for what this month's prize might be. And so with that, let's talk about New Year's resolutions. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's nice to just kind of reset in January to reflect on where you've been in the year before and to think ahead to the upcoming year. I love to think about either my one word, I follow John Gordon, my one word for 2022 is gratitude. Sometimes resolutions are a good thing as well. And so we just wanted to share our team's redesign resolution. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes things that seem so simple can turn out to be kind of a convoluted puzzle. And so you'll see the dot to dot on the left. Clearly, it's going to be a fish when you connect all of those dots. But the dot to dot on the right is going to be, if you ever bothered to want to try to connect all those dots, would actually be a chameleon. And our redesign resolution for you all for 2022 is to help everyone connect the dots between different initiatives. So even with our best of intentions, the dot to dot on the left shows that sometimes we think we've laid out a clear path or a clear picture, easy to follow the numbers, but sometimes your perspective, at KSDE, we call you the field, might be the perception on the right, where there are too many dots, the pathway isn't clear, it's going to take up way too much time, and sometimes it might not even be worth it to try. And so we have to do better. Can you believe it's been 5 years of Kansans Can Redesign and 5 years of PISA? And while these were intentionally different in the beginning, it's time to weave these school improvement processes together. We've been talking about it for a long time. It's happening in 2022. And that is our New Year's resolution to you, is to simplify the dots and help you to connect them. So moving forward, we're going to just remind you about the Redesign Success Rubric. We rolled this out a year ago and we've talked about it, but we thought that maybe you would want your resolution to be kind of not a reboot of your redesign, but something to reinvigorate, re-excite you. And so the purpose of the Redesign Rubric is it's a self-assessment. It can help you with goal setting. It can help you reignite some excitement and passion. And so we just want to pop into that rubric a little bit. Just wanted to remind you that wherever you're at on the rubric is where you are, but it also lays out what you might consider to be next steps. We believe that strong and successful redesign schools make their way to modeling and then to mentoring others. But wherever you're at, that's where you are. From designing, that would be, in your first plan year or wherever you may be because of COVID, to implementing, then to modeling, and then to mentoring. And so we encourage you to pop back into this rubric just to take a look at where you might be and reignition. Go back to our rocket language. Let's reignite and repurpose some of our redesign plans moving forward. And so, thank you, Sarah. This just kind of shows also that you can use the rubrics as a pre and post assessment. You can show quantifiable progress that can be shared with staff, students, families, your district, your local board of education, and your OBT. Yes, you can use this as documentation within your PISA process as well. It's a way to turn something abstract into something concrete. When we first started Redesign 5 years ago, in year one, people kept asking, what does it really mean to redesign? What does it mean? And we were like, oh, well, we will define that. And so we took this abstract concept of redesign or redesigning and pulled these rubrics together to really be a way to concretely describe your work in your school. We encourage you to use this rubric as a way to spark some collaborative conversations within your leadership team. Think about your evidence, quantitative and qualitative. What do you have that you could prove your rating? Again, this is a self-assessment. This is not something we're going to require you to turn back to us, but it is a starting point for some really deep dialogue about what is your mission and your vision? What are your goals? Are your goals still working for you? Are your strategies still working? Page 6 includes more detailed suggestions for a process that you might use to complete these rubrics. The rubrics are built around 6 competencies. We state that a successful redesign school can place the whole child at the center of instruction through personalized learning, integrate the approach to student success skills, which includes the 5 areas of the successful high school graduate: academics, technical skills, cognitive skills, employability skills, and civic engagement. Make learning relevant for students through real-world application. Redesign schools can develop family, business, and community partnerships based on mutually beneficial partnerships. Everyone's a winner in these partnerships. Redesign schools can implement and continuously improve using an iterative process that produces positive results. And we know that you have been and continue to work on developing and growing a collaborative learning culture through shared leadership. So the 6 competencies are what's built out in those rubrics. And you can use all of the rubrics, or maybe there's just one that you really want to take a deep dive into and take a different look in how you're implementing the redesign plan. So as we're looking through, you can see that designing is at the very beginning. Schools complete a launch readiness process. We have a launch readiness rubric. Some of you veteran redesign schools might want to take a look and see, well, what does it take to be able to be ready to launch now? And then we want designing schools to have communication loops and processes for collecting data and measuring where it is they want to go. In implementing, in addition to sustaining all of the things under designing, schools that are implementing execute under each competency. Each strategy is being implemented. Schools are collecting data on each strategy, and schools have necessary feedback loops. Again, that communication piece is huge. In modeling, not only are you sustaining the things under designing and implementing, but you are collaborative internally and externally. Schools have a culture suitable for change. Schools are able to demonstrate or show promise of success using lead data. We're going to talk more about scoreboards, but you need to have data and you need to be watching it, because that's how you're going to know if what you're doing is really worth your time. And then for mentoring, schools are actively modeling the strategies. Staff take ownership of their work and success, and schools are able to show success using lead and lag data. So that was just a refresher. I'm sure you all know it all already, but for now, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. So if you're familiar with Redesign, you know that you're probably very familiar with this concept of keeping score. So if you think about it, and for those of you who have New Year's resolutions, are you still holding true to those resolutions, right? I think the statistics are pretty much against anybody keeping those resolutions for the entire year. But hopefully you're still hanging on to yours. I would say this, that one of the most important things, if your resolutions are wildly important to you, if you keep score in some manner, you're more than likely going to execute well and keep those resolutions throughout the year. So we talk a lot about the 4 disciplines of execution, and those 4 disciplines are listed right there. And what we're going to focus on today with our short time with you today during our hot topic is keeping a compelling scoreboard. So I like to use sports examples. Shocker. So when my brother and I were growing up, we were about a year and a couple months apart. So there were quite a few wrestling matches on the living room floor. I've got a few scars. He's got maybe a few less scars, but generally we were just screwing around, right? And we might have determined who won or lost by who was crying or who wasn't. But once we got into middle school and little kids wrestling, we started wrestling in real matches, right? And if you watched our wrestling matches at home and then would watch us wrestle while they're keeping score, you would notice a distinct difference. Now, my brother was a good wrestler, me not so much, but you would notice a little bit more focus, right? Because why? Well, we're keeping score. I mean, if you think about it, wrestling is one of the most difficult sports out there. Why do wrestlers work so hard? Because they know on Saturday morning they're going to be in front of everybody, right, showing off what they know and can do, and score is going to be kept. So can that mindset, can that be applied to the classroom? Absolutely it can. If you think about in ELA class, if the aggregate scores of the number of students completing writing conferences each week was kept, then I would imagine, and that's kept publicly, I would imagine those kids and those teachers that are holding those student writing conferences, they're going to play the game a little bit harder. They're going to be more focused. So, we often talk about how important it is to keep a public scoreboard so everybody can see the score. And that's usually pertaining to the strategies you are implementing in your classroom and the effectiveness of those strategies. And we're going to give you a couple of examples because this is a concept that a lot of people struggle with. It's one of those say easy, do hard things, keeping score. So the 4 disciplines of execution, there's really 2 factors, 2 main things that a leader like yourself can influence. Number 1 is your strategy or your plan. And number 2 is your ability to execute that strategy or plan. Now, if you think about it, which of these would you struggle with the most, typically? Most would tell you that they're going to struggle with the execution of the plan. In fact, a lot of our preparation programs talked about developing lesson plans, right? Or developing long-term strategies, those kinds of things, or strategic plan for a district. So we're really good at developing those, but when it comes to executing those, that's where there's really very little training for teachers, for educators to go out and really help them execute on that strategy. So it is the 3rd discipline of execution, keeping a compelling and public scoreboard. It aligns with the test phase of design thinking. And we believe in these premises. People play differently when keeping score. You want to create a player scoreboard, not a coach's. So we're not talking about the principal coming down with, this is our scoreboard. We're talking about collaboratively in that classroom, the teachers and the students coming together on what do we want to keep score on and what are we going to commit to. So it's definitely a player scoreboard. And then it has 4 questions that you want to answer. Is it simple? Can I see it easily? Does it show both lead and lag measures? We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But basically, your lead measures are the things that you want to keep score on, and those are going to help you predict how you'll do on those lag measures. And then can I tell at a glance at how I'm doing, right? Are we winning or not? Do we need to change the strategy or not? And keeping it public can really be invigorating and motivating to students and to teachers. So we really encourage that public side of keeping score. So on the next slide, our good friend Rachel Meenan from Andover Schools sent us this excerpt from the book Stop Leading, Start Building by Robin Jackson. And if you have these slides, Sarah's done a great job of adding in a lot of the information around this book. We really would encourage you to read into it if you're really focused on execution. But there's an excerpt that Rachel sent to us that we want to share with you. It's about 5 or 6 pages worth of excerpt from the book, but I just wanted to show you this figure. And here are some really good examples, school examples of leading and lagging indicators, the relationship between those two. So let's look at the number of that first one, leading indicator, number of students called each week. And the lagging indicator could be the number of students who report that I have a teacher who cares about me on the annual climate survey. I think back to during COVID times, how many schools reported to us, we made contact with each kid, at least one adult every day. And I think that was a really good lead indicator that could predict that kids are going to feel more inclined to feel a sense of belonging when they return to school. So that's a really good list. If you're ever struggling with this concept of keeping score and leading and lagging indicators, this is a really nice, simple list that kind of lays it out well. So use that as you will. So then we have also a treasure trove of sample scoreboards that our schools, our redesigned schools across the state have sent to us. So I don't know, Sarah, how many, there's a bunch of slides in here with a bunch of examples. I just wanted to highlight 2. One is from Medicine Lodge, their junior senior high. But you can see on the slide that their lag measure is that they want to create relationships with at least 40 businesses. And so they are tracking the leading indicators of what a successful relationship looks like. They're tracking that along the way with this really nice scoreboard. One from Walnut Elementary in Emporia. We also really like the GATES. For those of you not familiar with that term, it's Goal Area Investigation Teams. And you can see there at Walnut Elementary that they are tracking perseverance. So their leading indicator is perseverance, and that's expressed in number of minutes that students spend independently reading. And you can see that the goal, the lag measure, is listed there as well. So just some really simple examples. Again, simple, say easy, do hard. But simple rules lead to complex thinking, and that's what kind of adaptive, complex thinking we need to solve these adaptive challenges that are in front of us. So we hope this helps you think through keeping score and how important that is. And feel free to use those examples. So that's all that I have about keeping score, and then I'm going to kick it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Jay. So that sample scoreboard PowerPoint that we were able to just share came from our redesign inventory. This is a once-a-year form that we ask all of our redesigned schools to complete. We are making progress on our scoreboard that we keep here internally of getting these returned from our schools. So thank you to all of you who have taken some time to meet with your team and complete this for us. This isn't just completed so that we have a pretty PowerPoint of scoreboard examples, but it's really meant to be a living repository where folks all across our state can go to find those models and mentors of what quality redesign looks like across our state. So you'll see under what, you'll see a link to responses and a link to scoreboards. That scoreboards link will take you back to that PowerPoint that Jay just shared a snippet with us of. And the responses gives you just a summary of what redesigned schools have shared in this inventory about what they are currently doing. So in that responses link, you'll find each school's vision, their why, their goal areas. some of their strategies, and then contact information. So if there's a strategy that you're thinking of, feel free to open that responses sheet, do a quick Control F and search for the thing that you're thinking about and see who else across the state is doing that. So that responses sheet will be updated regularly. So will that Scoreboard's PowerPoint to reflect the new submissions that we are receiving on that redesigned school inventory. The link to the form is at the bottom of this slide. If you're a redesigned school who has not completed that, we encourage you to complete it, except for our Apollo 3 schools. You'll be asked to complete this at the end of the year. So all of our other launch schools can go ahead and complete this inventory, and our Apollo 3 schools can feel welcome to use this right now so that you can find some peers to connect with as you begin strategizing and putting some things into action, testing. And then again, this can be used by all schools to find those models and mentors of some successful innovative strategies that we have here in Kansas. And with that, I will turn it back over to Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So in closing, we've covered quite a bit of ground in a short period of time here. And as Tammy articulated, our redesign resolution is to connect the dots this year in 2022, to take things that have been out there, maybe parallel tracks going, and pull them together and connect them, simplify things, clarify things. If you know, now is a great time to be clarifying things. We've got enough in the whirlwind going about. We don't need to be complex with the very important things. We need to simplify. We want to connect those dots for you. We talked about the Redesigned Success Rubric and how you can use that to evaluate where your staff is, where your building is on those 4 redesign principles and the process and shared leadership and some of those other competencies that are so important to redesign. And then the concept of keeping score. So we just want to thank you for paying attention and listening in to our kickoff hot topic for the year for 2022. I can't believe that it's already 2022, but we're happy to support you in all that we do. We do have redesigned PLCs that go on every month. And the next one we have is on February 1st and 2nd. And it's going to be based, talking a lot about project-based learning. And so you're going to get to hear from a couple of schools, an elementary school and a secondary school on February 1st and 2nd. So please chime in and join us for that redesigned PLC coming up in February. So we need more followers. We would love to have you follow us on Twitter. We retweet and tweet a lot of a variety of topics, right? From John Gordon to specific project-based learning resources. So please follow us on Twitter. And if you feel the need and would like to, we would love to have you tag us with KS to the Moon. That's our tag. And so we're always looking to connect with people through Twitter. And with that, we've reached the moment that you've all been waiting for. If we've kind of started this has kind of become a tradition for us. But at the end of our hot topics, we throw out a general trivia question and then have you respond to us via email. So here's the trivia question. And if you send it back to us, send the correct answer back to us, you will receive a handsome reward. So that was a little tongue in cheek, but it's still going to be good. It's still going to be good. Okay, here's the trivia question. What percentage of people actually keep their resolutions all year? Okay, what percentage of people actually follow through, keep their resolutions for the year? I would say about those people, they have a plan and they know how to execute. And that's really important. So if you are plus or minus a couple percentage points and you respond with that answer to redesign@ksde.org or any of those email addresses you see on this slide, again, we will send you something really, really nice. You're going to love it. All right. And with that, we're going to sign off for the day. Thanks for joining us. We're here to support you. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. Have a great rest of your day.